בשם השם נעשה ונצליח. שיעור תורה, ברוכים הבאים. To all of the new faces, some of the older faces, Baruch Hashem, some faces we haven't seen in a while. Bezrat Hashem, some more people are going to show up soon because we have some nice, interesting Bezrat Hashem cookies today. It's a special promotion, the Bezrat Hashem cookies. I never thought in my wildest dreams I'm going to see Bezrat Hashem cookies. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. But believe it or not, that's one of the things that shows, it's little things like that shows Ahavat Hashem. It shows that a person loves HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because what are you doing it for? For baking contest? No, you're doing it for the honor of Hashem, the honor of the Torah. The things that people have done throughout history for the honor of the Torah, sometimes they seem minimal, but Baruch Hashem, they end up becoming very big in Shamayim. Today's shiur will be for a refuah shlema for Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, Debbie bat Rachel, Ariel ben Debbie, also Elisheva Chaya bat Sarah, Yochevet bat Batya, Batya bat Sarah, Naomi bat Sarah. And all of Am Yisrael, Bezrat Hashem, will have refuah shlema, refuat nefesh, refuat aguf. So I'm hoping that today you guys have some questions. We're here, and for those people that watch us online and always ask me, where are you located? We repeat it again, we are in Florida. We're in Florida, what is it? Sunny Isles. Sunny Isles. Every Sunday and Wednesday we're here, Baruch Hashem. 9 o'clock. Usually we start around 9:15. Today we're at, we almost started at 9:15. We are considering possibly making the shiur an hour early since the clock has changed. The sun goes down earlier in the day. And some of the people have said maybe if the shiur was earlier, because since the shiur is usually a couple of hours, then maybe if we started earlier, then more people will show up, because some people say, listen, I want to go, but the Yetzer Hara tells me that if I go there, by the time the shiur finishes, it's 11 something, by the time I get home, it's 12 o'clock, and then I don't have as much time to play on the internet. I mean, I don't have as much time to go to sleep. Everybody pretends like they go to sleep. I know they don't go to sleep because they text me at 3 o'clock in the morning. They text me at 2:30. They text me. And, they don't just text me like, hopefully I'll answer by tomorrow. They text me. If I don't respond 5 minutes later, they send me a question mark. They're like, everything okay? Nobody's going to sleep. But let's say, okay, we'll contemplate. We're contemplating giving in to see if it's going to work. Maybe we'll do one of the shiurim. We'll change one of the shurim to an hour early to start at 8. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Maybe we'll make a change for next week. One of the shurim, either Sunday or Wednesday, Bezrat Hashem. We'll see. But I've done this before, so that's why I don't have such high hopes. Because I understand the Yetzer Hara, he tells you this, then you get what you want, and something else comes up. But Bezrat Hashem, let's see. Maybe that is the turning point for at least one person. Maybe it is, Bezrat Hashem. So I'm hoping you guys have some questions. Today is our questions and answers shiur. During the week, Baruch Hashem, the questions never end. There's questions from all over the world that some are difficult questions, some are easy questions, some are yes or no questions. Some questions I don't even know why people ask me. Because you could just simply press a couple of buttons on the internet and get an answer. But, Baruch Hashem, some people think I'm Google too. Maybe I should get royalty from Google, saving them, internet time. But Bezrat Hashem, if the questions are going to help you in your life, ask. Whatever the question is, whether it's about the parasha, or it's about a certain halacha, or it's a certain suggestion, you could pretend the suggestion is not for you, it's for your friend. We all have that friend. My friend has this and this, and he doesn't know what to do. I have such friends also. Everybody has such friends. You don't have to be shy. We all have problems. It's not the end of the world. But anyway, the point is for you guys to ask some questions. Over the last few months, we've been doing this shiur. Baruch Hashem, there's been a lot of good questions and a lot of good clips made out of it. But if you don't have questions, then I'll give you some other things to talk about. But to give you a little bit of food for thought of what does it mean to honor HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what does it mean in Shamayim? The Rabbi can tell you, and the Rabbanit can tell you all you want. Oh yeah, that's Kvod Shamayim, that's Kvod Shamayim. You're giving honor for Hashem, that's a big deal, that's a big deal. They can tell you all you want, but in reality, inside all of us, we have this Yetzirah that tells us, no, come on. Just go to sleep. What do you need to stay up an extra half hour to finish the shiur? No, come on. What do you need to push yourself that much? Just get to the minyan 5-10 minutes late. What's the big deal? No, come on. Why should you push yourself to stay awake? Take a nap during the shiur. You're tired. What's the big deal? Well, big deal. Hashem really cares about you out of all the people in the world. So, there were two famous tzadikot in Eretz Yisrael. Their husbands were the Gedolei Ador. And these two tzadikot were best friends. And, as you get older, you start having different conversations. When you're a kid, you can't wait to grow up. You can't wait to drive. You can't wait to get married. You can't wait to do things by yourself. You don't want anyone to help you. You get old, you keep looking for help. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? Can you come over? Life changes. Conversations change as you get older. And especially as people get much older, they start seeing some of their old friends are no longer in the world. They start thinking, reflecting on themselves, and they realize, I'm not going to be here forever. So these two tzadikot had a conversation between them, and they said, listen, we've been together for 50 years together, always together, 60 years together, always together. Doing all types of chesed, tzedakah, ma'asim tovim, all types of things. But who knows when we're going to go. So let's promise each other that whoever goes to Shamayim first comes back to the one that's still here in a dream and gives a little insight, what's going on. Okay. As you would have it, some time passed, and one of them passed away. Excuse me that I forgot their names, but this is a very well-known real story. And some time passed after she passed away, the tears dried up, and one day she appears to her friend in a dream. And she tells, so how is it up there? She says, it's unbelievable, Baruch Hashem, but I can tell you that they already told me about your Gan Eden. And your Gan Eden is much, much bigger than mine. Much bigger than mine. She says, what do you mean it's much bigger than yours? We always did everything together. Every tzedakah, every event, every baking challah, everything we did together. She goes, yes, we did it together, but do you remember that every time we wanted to give tzedakah to the poor people, you were always the one that went out of your way to reach out to give it to them, and I stood by you? She said, yeah. She goes, that's a big deal in Shamayim. So what do you mean? To just hand the money? To just reach out? She goes, yes, that reaching out, that extra effort, your Gan Eden and my Gan Eden are nothing alike. It's a world apart. That's what it means, Rabotai, in Shamayim, Kvod Shamayim, to honor Hashem, to honor the mitzvot, to honor the Torah. The smallest things that you can possibly think of are a big deal. But this also is on the opposite end. So, someone asked me a very scary question, and said, listen, we learned in the Gemara that the sin of Chilul Hashem is so grave, it's so horrible, that you cannot do tshuva for it until you die. Meaning, the beginning of tshuva for Chilul Hashem, for desecrating Hashem's name, you can't start doing tshuva for it. You can't pay for this sin until you die. And then it starts. Now what's Chilul Hashem? To give you guys a little bit of food for thought. Chilul Hashem is, let's say, for example, a bunch of Jews go to Beit Knesset, and one of the Jews decides to drive on Shabbat to the Beit Knesset, and he parks right next to the shul, and they see him. They see him driving on Shabbat, and he comes to the shul like he owns the place. He has his talit bag, his little kippah that he got from the bar mitzvah. He walks into the place. They saw him sin. That's Chilul Hashem. Why? Because by him driving on Shabbat, befaresia, in public, he made the Torah seem less significant. He made Hashem smaller. As if his mitzvot, his averot, all he said doesn't really make a big deal. I could do whatever I want. Hashem said, don't drive on Shabbat because it's millions of fires. I said I want to drive. Hashem will understand me. That's Chilul Hashem. Another example is, one time, a guy tells me, listen, why don't we go get something to eat? I was in the business world. I said, yeah, but I have to, I was in a business meeting, and the client told me, let's go eat something. I said, okay, you have any kosher restaurants here? I was in Houston. You have any kosher restaurants here? He says, what's that? I said, no, it's kosher food, it has to be, Jewish people. And he says, why, you always eat just this type of food? It's the same type of food? He goes, no, it's different types of food, but there's rabbis that oversee that the food was slaughtered the right way, prepared the right way. There's no worms and maggots and flies inside the salad. The animal wasn't shot in the head. It was slaughtered in a kosher way. It was salted. There's no blood in it. All types of things. He says, why does that matter to you? I said, because I eat kosher food. Why? He goes, all my other Jewish friends, they come with me to all the restaurants. We eat everything together. How come you're different? That's Chilul Hashem. That's Chilul Hashem. All of those Jewish people that went with him to all the restaurants, they gave the goy the impression that we are the same. That's Chilul Hashem. That's Chilul Hashem. Sometimes you see breaking news. The news loves to make fun of religious people, especially in Eretz Yisrael. Religious person, a little bit overzealous, saw somebody driving on Shabbat, picked up a rock on Shabbat and threw it at the car. News shows up, they're always there somehow, and they're reporting, religious people, what are they doing? They're a danger to society. What religious people? This one crazy kid decided to throw a rock. They pretty much give an image to the entire Judaism that this is what it is. That's Chilul Hashem. That's Chilul Hashem. Meaning that Chilul Hashem can be done by everybody. Whether you are secular or you are religious, you're old or you're young, it doesn't make a difference. It's if we do not constantly think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching us, and we are, in essence, His representation in the world. If we look terrible, because we're doing terrible things, we're stealing, we're cheating, we're yelling, we're nasty people, we yell at the clerk at the airline because we missed a flight, but it's not really the clerk's fault. We start making a whole scene. We start, doing all types of bad things. Hashem says, you are making me look bad. You are desecrating my name. Because now people are going to think Jewish people are bad people. So that means that their creator is bad too. The Torah is bad too. I remember when I was Shem Yachem, not keeping Torah and mitzvot like I was supposed to, one of the things that kept me strong in my Yetzer Hara, very strong in my Yetzer Hara, is that when I would go to different places, especially the casino, and play poker, I would see religious people. How did I know they're religious? Because they still wore the big hats. Like they didn't hide it. Still wore the kippah. Still had tzitzit outside. Like it wasn't like he was pretending he wasn't. No. Religious, him and 3-4 of his friends filling the tables. Playing this, that. Oh, Shavua Tov, how are you? Manishma, oh, you Jewish? Oh, okay. Gambling. I thought to myself, this is kosher. This is kosher for me to never be religious. This is my stamp. Why? I know that they're not supposed to be there. I don't have to be religious to know that. Because if you are representing that you are religious, that you are a soldier of God, what are you doing in a casino? I'm not representing God at that time. I'm representing myself, my ego, my own desires. I'm representing myself. I belong wherever I feel like it in my mind. But you, religious Mr. Religious, Mrs. Religious, what are you doing in such a filthy place? So when I saw them there, I said to myself, you know what? At least I'm not fake. At least I don't pretend. That's Chilul Hashem. That's desecrating Hashem's name. And the Gemara says that desecrating Hashem's name one time in your life, which all of us unfortunately have done it, once, twice, or even 1,000 times, without even realizing what it is, it's not like all of the other sins where you could just say, I'm sorry Hashem, please forgive me, and Yom Kippur helps you. Like if you ate tarif, you decide to have a bacon, egg, and cheese from McDonald's. You decided it was delicious. You had it. That's a sin. But if you said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm sorry, you gave some tzedakah, you did some good things, you promised you're never going to do it again, guess what? Hashem forgives. If you really did it in a high level of tshuva, you can even turn it into a mitzvah. Again, assuming you never did it again after that. Not you did it again tomorrow and said, I'm sorry, you did it again the next day, and I'm sorry. Someone says, I'm going to sin, but they didn't say, I'm sorry. I'm going to sin, then I'm going to say, I'm sorry, over and over again. It's like they're gaming the system. Hashem says, what's the punishment? Punishment is, I'm never going to let you do tshuva. That's the punishment, which is the worst punishment in the Torah. So now a person that does Chilul Hashem, Hashem says, you cannot do tshuva for it by saying, I'm sorry. Not on Yom Kippur, not during the year, not during Vidui, nothing. This is very scary. Why? Because the Reshit Chochmah, Masechet Gehenom, says someone that dies with Chilul Hashem in his pocket, he comes to Shamayim with Chilul Hashem, Hashem Yirachem, what happens to him? What happens to her? A woman walks around immodest, and everyone says, oh yeah, that's the Rabbanit. That's the Rabbanit with the miniskirt. Doesn't even cover our nothing. It could qualify for a bathing suit. That's the Rabbanit. It's Chilul Hashem. She dies like this. Hashem Yirachem. Ooh, what's going to happen? I don't have to give you the details. You could understand already. So now, what do? This is very scary. None of us want to go to Gehenom. None of us want to get punished. None of us want to, because all of us did this. At some point or another, all of us messed up. This big sin. In fact, the biggest sin. What do? One of the Talmidim, very, very serious kid, watches all the shurim, attends many of them, does everything possible to do tshuva every day, asked me this question. Now, Baruch Hashem, I learned the answer for this a few years ago from Rabbi Yisrael Misalant. Rabbi Yisrael Misalant was one of the Gedolei Ador, started the Musar movement almost 200 years ago. And he wrote in his one of his letters that was compiled by one of his students, Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer, Or Israel it's called, very deep but extraordinary book. And he writes exactly what I just told you, this biggest sin in the world, we can't do tshuva for it, so if you did everything else fixed, but you still have to go to Gehenom for this one thing, doesn't seem fair. If I'm ready, I know I did it. What could I do? He says, first we have to understand what is Chilul Hashem. Chilul Hashem is not only just the biggest sin, it's not only bad. When you minimize God, when you minimize His Torah, when you minimize His significance, there is no power in the world that can fix that. Because He is unlimited. He is unlimited. How are you going to fix that? You're going to go back to all the people that you desecrated His name in front of them? He's so unlimited, He's so extraordinary that you dare to minimize His name. How do you fix such a thing? There's no power in the world to fix it. You can only fix it in a spiritual world that's after this life, that is, unfortunately, unlimited in both good and bad. But Rabbi Yisrael Misalant gives us a clue, gives us a key, gives us a trick. He says, just like desecrating Hashem's name has unlimited magnitude and effect in the world, the opposite is true too. Kiddush Hashem. Sanctifying Hashem's name. Making Hashem's name more glorious. By now you're going to say to the community, hey guys, listen, I'm going to set up a shiur here. Rabbi Yaron's going to come. Please, everyone come. Yeah, we're all going to eat some donuts at so-and-so's house and watch some baseball. No. Forget the baseball. Forget the football. Let's learn Torah for a couple of hours. That's Kiddush Hashem. Why? You showed people baseball's nonsense, football's nonsense, stock market's nonsense, going to learn Torah at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. That's the big deal. You just made Hashem's name bigger. You decided to take an extra few minutes to make a few cookies. Why? Because it's going to look good that people show up and there's cookies at the place. Maybe somebody's hungry. Maybe somebody is, has something and he's thinking, maybe I shouldn't come and go somewhere else. Or just the fact that someone cares enough about the shiur, they're going to make special cookies for it. They're going to make banners. They're going to do something for the shiur. Oh, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. You're bringing food to the place. You're setting up. You're inviting people. You're doing all types of things to make Hashem's names more glorious. That's a big deal. Somebody invites you to go do something. You say, listen, I appreciate the invite, but I can't come. Why? I have a shiur Torah. What do you mean you have a shiur Torah? All the guys are going. We're going to have drinks, girls, this, that. Listen, you can do whatever you want. It's not a good idea because all sin's what you're explaining to me. But I can tell you for sure, I can tell you, shiur Torah is much more important than what you're saying. Why? Because over there, what are you going to do? You're going to go meet somebody, maybe make some sins, the pleasure of 5 minutes, and then you regret it the next day. Me, I'm going to go learn something that could affect the rest of my eternity. I go to a shiur, even if I fall asleep for an hour and 59 minutes, but I'm awake for 1 minute. In that 1 minute, I learned something that I could take with me and change my entire life. That's already worth more than all of the clubs, all of the pubs, all of the girls and boys and drinks and all of the fun you're ever going to have in your life physically. That 1 minute is worth more than all of that. That's Kiddush Hashem. When you show people that Torah is more important, the mitzvot that you're doing are more important than anything in the world, that's Kiddush Hashem. That's also why doing kiruv, helping people doing tshuva, is the biggest Kiddush Hashem you can do. Why? Because how do you show somebody that you're a good friend or a good person and you care about them? You give them something. If somebody shows up to you and say, listen, I love you, I bought you a house. Now, before that, you didn't know if he loved you or didn't love you. But if he bought you a house, that's symbolic of something. Symbolic of something. Maybe he does love you. Maybe she does love you. She bought you a house. She's not even married to you. He's not even married to you. You're just the next door neighbor, but they care so much about you, they bought you a house. All probably said, listen, what, you're looking for a job? I'll hire you. I'll find you a job. If you give something to somebody, you show them that you care. Now, unfortunately, all of the presents that you can give somebody in this world have a clock on them, a timer, where eventually the joy from that gift ends. Sometimes it's 5 minutes if you invited them for dinner. The second after their last bite, the joy from the food is over. Even if it's the best food in the world, a second after you finish the last bite of that 16-ounce steak, you don't remember the steak after that. You don't remember the taste you had. It's finished. You enjoyed it while you were eating it. After you finished, the joy is finished. You invite somebody to a party, the second the party is over, finished, the fun's over. You can reminisce about it, but the fun itself is gone. If somebody is with his spouse, okay, whatever the time is, it's over, it's finished. You give somebody a gift, they enjoy it, they like it, they play with it, they wear it. A few days, they're excited about it, they show their friends, look what he bought me, look what she bought me. 2 weeks later, oh, yeah, so some watch I have, it's some ring. It's just another thing. The joy is over after that. It's finished. All the gifts in the world, eventually it's finished. The appreciation that we have as human beings deteriorates over time, some more, some less, but nonetheless, eventually it finishes. Even if it's the glorious gift of a house, of a mansion, of a castle, of a building, whatever you say, even if it's they literally give you $1 billion, within a few years, you may not even remember who gave it to you because you're so busy with life and chasing your own tail. But when you give somebody olam haba, when you give somebody olam haba by telling them, listen, what are you, 40, 45, 50 years old? Tell me, are you happy? No, right? You don't have to answer. I'll answer for you. You're not happy. Money, no money, you're not happy. Married, no married, you're not happy. Kids, no kids, no. Sometimes people have kids. It's better they didn't have kids. How much trouble these kids give them. Sometimes people get married just to get divorced. As soon as the honeymoon is over, the bees show up. You're supposed to laugh at that part. Honeymoon, honey, bees. Shem Yirachem, you guys are sleeping. Even my jokes you guys don't get. Point is, some people, they get married, they get divorced. The guy says, listen, I'm closing my wedding hall. Why? I'm going to open a divorce hall. Why? Because there's more money in that business. People get divorced. Rabbi again says one of his friends who was a rabbi, he asked him, how come you give a business card to every one of your customers? That you do a chuppah and kiddushin. He says, when they get divorced, I want them to call me. There's more money in it. Almost 80% of Americans get divorced. What's the point of getting married? The likelihood is to get divorced anyway. So the reality is, you look at people's life, whether they're multi-billionaires on the Forbes 500, when they're not on the boat and someone's taking a picture, when they're not on some plane and someone's taking a picture, when they're not on some board meeting and someone took a picture, in reality they hit life, and their life, in so many words, is terrible. You just look at what happened in their life. We talked about this the other day. But when somebody is connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they have a purpose that no one else can acquire unless they're also connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because happiness is it's a spiritual feeling. It's not something tangible. It's not something material. You cannot acquire happiness by buying it in a store. You cannot acquire happiness by acquiring certain assets. You could only acquire happiness by acquiring HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In so many words, acquiring His Torah. Having HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your life. Now, when you are the one that tells this person, hey, listen, 40 years you're in this world, you're not happy. Let me give you a new idea. You've never done it, for sure. What is it? Get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Here, watch this shiur, and then I'll give you a whole list of other shiurim. Each shiur, you heard something, start doing it. You heard something, start doing it. Get closer to Hashem. Do more mitzvot. Go to Bet Knesset. Eat kosher. Work on your character traits, and so on and so forth. What did you do at that moment? You gave that person a gift of Olam Haba. You gave him the gift of Olam Haba. Why? Because if this person, if she starts keeping mitzvot, she starts walking around modest, she covers her hair if she's married, she covers herself whether she's married or not, she eats kosher, she learns, she does all the good things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, guess what? Not only she's going to enjoy this life, she'll also have an eternity of joy. She'll have Gan Eden. That's a gift, Rabotai, that never ends. Because the joy that you get from it starts in this world and simply never ends. And that's the biggest Kiddush Hashem that you can possibly do in this world. To help somebody get closer to Hashem. How? By telling them, listen, your life is terrible. Why? You don't have Hashem. Saying I believe in Hashem and singing songs about Him doesn't mean you have Hashem. Following what He says means you have Hashem. Doing everything He says, that means you have Hashem. Preparing your whole life in accordance to what Hashem said, that means you have Hashem. By giving somebody that simple insight and the tools to get closer to Hashem, that, Rabotai, is the biggest Kiddush Hashem you can do. And that's what Rabbi Israel Misalan says. That is the only way you can fix the Chilul Hashem. Because just like the Chilul Hashem is so significant, you can't fix it with normal acts. You can't fix it with tzedakah. You can't fix it with eating kosher. You can't fix it with putting on tefillin. You can't fix it with that. What do you got to fix it with? You got to fix it with Kiddush Hashem. Why? Because just like this is unlimited, so is the Kiddush Hashem is unlimited. There's no power in the world that can contain the reward that you're going to get for this Kiddush Hashem. All the money in the world, all the happiness in the world, all the good that's in the world is not enough to even be a down payment for what you're going to get for one Kiddush Hashem. Imagine if you do it every day for a few minutes. Imagine you do it every single month when you get a paycheck, you donate for Kiruv. Imagine you do it every single time you bring a few people for Shiurim, doesn't cost you anything. Imagine you do it simply by giving somebody a CD you got for free. Took you a minute. And you got yourself a reward that's simply never going to end. And that's the cure and the only one for Chilul Hashem. This is why, Rabotai, anyone that's smart, the Zohar Kadosh says, will literally leave everything in the world and just start looking for people that are not close to Hashem and start helping them do tshuva. That's what Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, the one that wrote the Mishnah, that's what he did. Once he understood the significance of helping people do tshuva, he literally started running in the streets, looking for secular people. In those days, you had to look for them. Baruch Hashem. Today, you don't have to look. They come. But the key is, Rabotai, if the one that wrote our entire oral Torah started running in the streets, looking for people to help them do tshuva, to get this Kiddush Hashem on his account, it gives you an understanding of how significant it is. So that's the answer for anyone that has desecrated Hashem's name, which, again, you don't have to necessarily be upset that you have, because most of us have, even if we didn't know it. But there is a cure. The cure is to do the exact opposite, which is Kiddush Hashem. Now, anyone have actual questions? I could talk for 5 hours, but you guys have questions. I would love to hear your questions. You have questions. Okay, so if you don't mind, somebody give her the mic. We're not going to record you. We're just, the camera has to hear your voice. I can hear you, but the camera needs the mic. Plus, it gives me a few seconds to drink.
I'm not sure if this was Chilul Hashem. I had a situation, my son was learning in a yeshiva, and he got very, very sick, and he came home for let's say 9 months. And the rabbi of the yeshiva never called after he was there for 2.5 years. He never called to see how my son was feeling. So, of course, I said, I wasn't so happy about that. And I said, I'm so turned off from yeshivot, and I didn't say the name, but I think maybe that was a Chilul Hashem because I put down Roshei Yeshivot.
Right.
Oh. So how much Kiddush Hashem do I need to do to cover it?
Well, let's see. So first off, you're right. You're right. You're right and you're wrong at the same time. I'll tell you. Right meaning that the Gemara says, Rabbi Akiva says, one time he had 24,000 students. It's a lot more students than any yeshiva in the world. But one time he noticed that one of his students hasn't shown up for a few days. He asked a few of the other students, do you know where he is? No. You didn't ask nothing? No, we haven't seen him in a few days. Where to go? Rabbi Akiva himself stopped everything he was doing, went to the guy's house. He's a grown man. Went to his house, he saw him by himself, literally dying. He was so sick and sad that no one came to visit him that he was dying. Rabbi Akiva started cleaning his house, started giving him chizuk, and so on and so forth. And then he came, and the guy was so enamored by that Rabbi Akiva, the Rosh Yeshiva, the biggest yeshiva in history, came to his house, he's cleaning his house, cooking, cleaning, giving him a personal shiur. He cares so much about him that he went to visit him, that Rabbi Akiva saw him stand up and mamash become healthy in front of him. After he saw this, he went back to his yeshiva of 24,000 students, and he said, there's an halacha I haven't taught you well. What's the halacha? Someone who does not visit a sick person might as well have killed him. It's as if you killed him. Why? Because sometimes a person is sick physically, sometimes a person is sick emotionally, sometimes it's both. Sometimes both. He starts physically, she starts physically, she's not showing up to work, to school, to something for a week, 2 weeks. It's not like a cold. 2 days, okay, you're back. She's out of commission, like you said, your son, Shem Yachem, 9 months. It's a long time. No one calls, no one writes, no one visits, especially the teachers. That makes the person even sicker. Why? Because they start thinking to themselves, what should I live for? No one cares about me anyway. I go to school with all these people, and no one cares, no one's visiting me, no one's writing. Even my teacher who said that he likes me, obviously he doesn't like me enough because I haven't shown up. He doesn't like me that much. He doesn't even notice that I'm there. You start losing your own will to live to some extent. Rabbi Akiva says that's almost like you murdered him by not visiting him. So on that aspect, you are 100% right. They made a huge mistake. Huge mistake. I'm not saying they're supposed to come to your house every day and bake you cookies, but to visit, to call, to write, to do something, that's a responsibility of any Jew. Needless to say, a Rosh Yeshiva that learns Torah and other teachers. So on that aspect of it, that you are disgusted by it, you're right. So is Rabbi Akiva, and so is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is disgusted by people that forget to actually fulfill the Torah that they're teaching, fulfill the Torah that they're learning. If you're not going to fulfill it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you're going to teach something, but you yourself are not going to do it, the Gemara says it was better off you would have been strangled by your mother's umbilical cord and never came to the world. Charif. Mamash, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates such things. Being hypocrites, especially when it comes to Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is disgusted by it. So on that aspect of it, you are 100% right. Where are you wrong? You're wrong in the aspect where you simply decided that yeshivot are this. That this is the representation of the Torah. That the Torah, if you do this, the yeshivot, you learn Torah, that's what you're going to get. And that is the mistake. That's the mistake. Now, it all depends on who you said it to, whether you said it in your mind, or you said it to people, or you said it to your son, or you said it to your friends. The more people you share this information with, and you don't have to tell me, the more you have to fix. But the good news is that fixing it, we just have the solution. Solution is you have to take advantage of this free gift HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, which is Kiddush Hashem. Help people do tshuva. Every time you bring another boy, another girl, another friend of yours, another cousin, another sister, anyone, you bring them to the shiur, they hear something, they're going to start taking on mitzvot, you just made Hashem's name much more special. You're fixing that damage. Now, once you see how great that is for your life in general, you're not going to want to stop. Why? Because not only are you fixing the damage that you made, that you know about, and that you don't know about, but it's actually fun to do. You start seeing somebody come in with shorts and a tank top. 6 months later, the Talmid Yeshiva with a kippah, got a little jacket on, tiny little beard. He's happy to be a Jew suddenly. A father sent me a message today. He says to me, Baruch Hashem, his 3 sons have been learning our shiurim. His 3 sons have been learning our shiurim. He says life has changed in the last 6 months. One kid decided to go from nothing. He's in yeshiva right now in Eretz Yisrael. 6 months. 6 months, he decided to go from nothing to be in yeshiva. Yeshiva right now, he's learning like Rav Moshe Feinstein. He's learning like Rabbi Akiva. He's learning Torah every day and night in Eretz Yisrael. Another kid is on his way to becoming a big rabbi. Third one, Baruch Hashem, is keeping Torah and mitzvot. He says the house has changed, the environment has changed. I'm getting nachat for my kids. Why? They're watching Shiurei Torah. So imagine whoever shared the first shiur with these kids, how much their schar is. Why? Because every single mitzvah these 3 boys ever do for the rest of their life goes to their account. The first person that gave them a CD, first person that invited them to a shiur, first person that showed them the link, first person that did it, told him, listen to this guy, he's a little scary at first, but you'll like him. Next thing you know, these kids are blooming into tzaddikim. Every single mitzvah that they ever do, every time they put on tefillin, every time they keep Shabbat, every time they say a bracha, every time they say thank you, every time they give tzedakah, every single mitzvah they ever do. And on top of it, every mitzvah their kids do. Every mitzvah their grandkids will do. Every mitzvah their great-grandkids will, for the eternity, goes to the account of the person that introduced them, our shiurim. Such a reward you cannot buy with money. You can't imagine, you can't fathom how great this is. Why? Because what did you do at the end? You simply returned HaKadosh Baruch Hu's 3 kids back to him. You know how long he's been looking for them? I'll tell you exactly. 3,330 years. Since Mount Sinai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking in the streets for them. Why? They were at Mount Sinai. They're like all of us. They said, Na'aseh v'nishma. But then they decided not to. They went off the derech. They went up to Shamayim. Hashem says, you failed. I have to bring you back. Another life. Failed again. I should go up to Hashem. Hashem in His mercy says, you failed again. I got to bring you back. Another Gilgul, another reincarnation. For the last 3,300 years, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is crying like a father looking for his babies in the streets. What'd you do? You said, Abba, is this your kid too? Yeah. How'd you know? Yeah. He looks just like you. I've been looking for him for 3,000 years. You returned him and 2 of his brothers. Imagine how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves you now. He loved you already, but imagine how much more he loves you now. Why? You showed him how much you love him by caring about his other kids. You returned his kids that he's been looking for 3,000 years. And Rabotai, I'm going to tell you something extra. This is the last Gilgul. This was the last chance. The Steipler Gaon already said over 50 years ago, anyone that's alive right now, this is his last chance. There's no more reincarnation. We're out of time. Mashiach is here. No one is going to have enough time to die and then come back again. Right now. We're here. Meaning, it's not so easy to do tshuva. Tshuva is not, I just decide I'm going to keep Shabbat and I'm finished. You have to change your life. You have to change your character traits. You have to start doing stuff. Doing tshuva is a lifelong task. So if somebody lives their life, Hashem Yachem, they're already 20, 30, 40 years old. They waste another 20 years of doing absolutely nothing. They die. Okay, Hashem says, listen, there's a lot of people ahead of you. There's a lot of people ahead of you that I promised them they're going to have one last chance. You have to wait until all of them get their last chance. The Steipler Gaon says, everyone is on their last chance. Everyone is on their last chance. This is an opportunity for every single human being, not just the Jew, every human being to do tshuva. So imagine, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been crying his heart out for 3,330 years to look for his 3 boys, to look for his 3 girls, to look for millions of Jews, his kids. He's been crying for 3,000 years, and you decided that it's important to you to help Hashem find his kids. And you actually succeed. And Hashem says to you, not only did you succeed, you are the last hope. If it wasn't for you bringing them to the shiur, if it wasn't for you helping them do tshuva, unfortunately, they would have been lost permanently. Hashem Yirachem. That's the magnitude of how much kiruv is worth in this generation. This is why anyone that's wise simply invest their time doing kiruv in any way, shape, or form. If you have money, you donate money. These lectures are free, but they cost money. There's employees. We don't eat man from Shamayim, Baruch Hashem, not yet. You know, it costs money. Employees, the videos, the cameras, all the different stuff costs money. If you have money, you don't work for free like me, then you can donate. You don't have any money, you're barely making it, no problem. You can make cookies. You get some dough for a few dollars, you make a cookie. You have more than that, you could also invite people. That's what the girls in the back are doing. They're inviting their friends, they're inviting their community. Whether they listen or not is not your business. You try. You try. A woman asked me the other day, she heard in a shiur that the Gemara says, Nashim, women, what do they go to Gan Eden for? What do they go to Gan Eden for? They don't learn Torah like guys. At least they're not supposed to. I mean, supposed to learn the basics, but they're not obligated to learn Torah Yomam Valayla. They're supposed to know the basics. In this generation, the basics is already a lot. But the point is that what do women go to Gan Eden for? So the Gemara says they go to Gan Eden for sending their husband to shiur Torah, to learn Torah, and for sending their kids to learn Torah. That's what they go to Gan Eden for. So a woman asked me, she's like, listen, I have a problem. What's the problem? Okay, my kids, I'm sending them to yeshiva, but my husband, he doesn't want to learn. He wants to be an Am Haaretz. He wants to watch sports. He wants to hang out with his friends. He doesn't want to learn. I tell him, come, he doesn't want to go. So what, I'm not going to go to Gan Eden because of my Batlan husband? That's not fair. I'm doing mitzvot. I have my hair covered. I Shabbat. I make 18 dishes, salads, this, that, not even catering. No, so how come I'm not going to go to Gan Eden? It's not fair. So wait, hold on a second. Understand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, sending them to the shiur, sending them to yeshiva, meaning try your best. He didn't say succeed. He didn't say they go to Gan Eden if their husband turns into a big tzaddik. They go to Gan Eden if their husband turns into a big Talmid Chacham. It doesn't say that. It says they send them to the shiur. They push them to go. How much? Never end. Now a woman says, yeah, I tried a few times. He said no. Now he even argues with me. So what should I do? The answer is again and again. Why? Because you go up to Shamayim, Hashem, you're going to tell Hashem this excuse. You're going to say, listen, Hashem, I told my husband 15 times, go to the shiur, he doesn't want to. So what? What am I going to do? I lived with him for 50, 60 years. He didn't want to go. I asked him 15 times. So Hashem says, okay, you know what? You have a good point. Let's see what else happened in your life. You were married to him for what, 50, 60 years? Okay, so let's see. Oh, you remember when you wanted that new fridge? You remember you wanted that new fridge and your husband says he can't afford it? So you pushed him a little bit. How many times did you ask him for the fridge? Oh, look at that. You asked him almost every day for 6 months. Almost every day for 6 months you mentioned something about this fridge. It's 180 days you asked for the fridge. Oh, remember when you wanted a new car? Remember? Let's see. 2 years you complained about not having a new car. 2 years. Oh, you remember the jewelry that you wanted? 5 years you complained that you don't have enough jewelry. The shoes, 2 months. So how come for the shoes, for the fridge, for the car, for the jewelry, for all the material, you complained to him to no end until you got it? But when it came to spirituality, you tried a few times. He said, no, you gave up on the whole thing. How come? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you try to send him to the Shiur Torah, to get him to go learn Torah, at least as much as you tried for all the other stuff, then maybe you have a case. But the reality is, that's not true. All of us, when we want something, we don't stop. We don't stop. You have to use your wisdom. As a woman, you have certain part of your wisdom that's much higher than the man. You have certain intuition. You have a sixth sense that men don't have. So you have to use your intuition. What do? You simply tell him, go. He doesn't want to go. Now, you try to entice him with food, with gifts, with all types of things that you can figure and understand that I don't have to explain to you. You try to get him to go to the shiur. Now, that's not enough to go to the shiur. That's not enough. What else? When he comes back from the shiur, you wait for him, even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because it's important for you. And you tell him, honey, I waited for you. Look, I made you this food. I figured it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You just came back from learning. You're probably hungry. I made you your favorite dish. Tell me what you learned for 5. Oh, I'm tired, honey. Okay, 2 minutes while you're eating. Okay, I'll tell you while I'm eating. You showed him that this shiur, this Torah, is more important to you than anything else in the world. I don't want another house. I don't want another car. I don't want more jewelry. I want you to go learn Torah. Why? Because when he does all the other stuff, you don't cook him special meals all the time. But if every time he goes to the shiur, you make a special meal, you treat him special, you do nice things, all of a sudden, he feels like he's a king. For what? For learning Torah. Suddenly, he wants to do it. Suddenly, when it's a day off, there's no shiur, you say, honey, can I learn Torah with you? Can we watch a shiur together? Can you pick something? We'll learn together. All of a sudden, you don't want to go to the mall to spend all the money he works hard for. You want to watch a shiur Torah? Guess what? That's going to make him want to do it. Why? Number one, it's cheaper. And number two, it's another way to connect. It's another way to connect. If you care about Torah, you'll find a way to get your husband and kids to want Torah. But when the parents don't care about Torah, what do they expect the kids to do? What do they expect the kids to do? The kids are not going to like Torah. Why? Because the kids try to emulate the parents. So this is why, Rabotai Yekarim, even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us that a woman gets to Gan Eden because she sends her husband to Torah, he also knows the power of the woman. And he knows that she can do it if she really wants to. If Rachel, Rabbi Akiva's wife, can take someone that's completely ignorant and illiterate and turn him into Rabbi Akiva, every woman in this generation can turn her husband into at least a Shomer Torah and Mitzvot. Every woman can turn her husband to somebody that watches a few shiurim each week. Every woman. If you want it. As much as you want jewelry and cars and this and that and all the other stuff. You have to be clever though. Next question. In the back, if you could pass the mic, please.
I know some of surgeons that it involves them seeing immodest women. And I asked my friend about it, and she said it's fine because it's the way he makes money, but he also claims he's religious. Is that allowed?
Okay, so doctors that are dealing with women, there's 2 types. There's a doctor that's, let's say, for example, a heart surgeon or a spinal surgeon or some type of other medicine where his profession is needed for the sake of saving human life or improving human life in general. Of course, he's going to see people in an inconvenient way, in an embarrassing way. But Chazal says this is permissible, number one, because human life is more valuable than anything else. One second, I'll answer both sides of the question. And two, when he is busy with his occupation, he's not thinking about her figure or what it looks like and he's thinking about his profession. When he's cutting her open to do something, he's not thinking about, oh wow, this. He's not thinking like that. If he's not a normal person, he's not thinking that. Now, there are certain people that decide to go into a very, very profitable business, which is in the field of plastic surgery, where they deal with pretty much every immodest woman on the planet. That's their customer. Why? Because all of these women, they want to make themselves look even more immodest, more seductive, more this. They want to increase their this size and this and that. Because why? They want to walk in the street and they want the entire street to stop. They want the sky to stop, the birds to die just from looking at them. So they go with the plastic surgery, becomes an addiction. It really does actually become a psychological addiction, and many people actually end up ruining their life because of this stuff. Now the point is, now the doctor that deals specifically with this is in a very, very serious problem. He's in a very serious problem in heaven. Why? Because his day-to-day profession is not conducive to anyone's life. Now sometimes a person needs to fix something because they have some type of deformity, they have some type of health issue, they have to fix their nose because they can't breathe, they have to fix their chest because perhaps it's uncomfortable, she had cancer, and they had to remove her breast, and she doesn't want to walk around like that, so she put something else. Yes, there are reasons for it, but the reality is, those reasons are a minority of their business. So anyone that's going to be dealing with that field that specifically caters to the most immodest people on the planet has to go to one of Gdolei Hador and get a written letter of permission to say that he's allowed to do this. I highly doubt he'll ever get permission. Why? Because every single day that he exists, he's putting his neshama on the line, because what do these women do? Most of the women that come to him, they're not 560 pounds and they're looking to become 60. Most of the women usually are already attractive to some extent, sometimes very attractive, but they're sick in their head. They're self-conscious. Sometimes the more beautiful they are, the more self-conscious that they are. So they come to the doctor every month to fix the nose, to fix the ears, to fix the chin, to fix the eyes, to fix the this. Everything they want fixed. They want to become something else completely. If you could simply just, change their mirror and put a picture of somebody else on it, they'd be happy. Now, the problem is, those people, what do? First thing they do? They take off their clothes. So he has to see naked women all day. Hashem Yachem. How is a person not going to have ilulim, all types of filthy thoughts in his head, if all day he sees this filth? And don't tell me he gets used to it. No guy gets used to stuff like that. Guys don't think like girls. Second thing, he's also going to have a distorted image of what women are supposed to be like. His marriage is going to be Gehenom itself. Why? He's going to compare his wife constantly to his patients. Women and men, they don't look 20 years old forever. I don't know if you guys noticed. If you look at some of the pictures from my movie, I didn't always look like this. I promise you. I looked a little bit better. But, you deteriorate over time. Instead of growing taller, you grow wider. All types of fun things. Now, the reality is, if all day he sees 25-year-olds that already look good and are looking better because all of the filthy people that work in these clubs and so on, that's the customer base. Work in the movies, that's the customer base. And now he goes to his wife, and instead of his 25-year-old wife that he married, he sees Saba Geppetto 45 years later. What do you think? He's going to be happy with this? He's going to increase the divorce rate. So, unfortunately, for a person that makes a lot of money in this business, because it's a very, very profitable business, because we're psychologically sick, and we don't understand what happiness really is in this generation, that person has to literally close shop. Or only cater to medicinal reasons. Things that are specifically for health reasons. And even that, you'll have to get some big posek to say it's allowed. Why? Because again, your neshama is on the line all day. Anyone that cares about a Kadosh Baruch Hu or their neshama is simply not even going to mess with this. If you already have the expertise, go become a spine surgeon. Go become a surgeon for knees, for brains, for something else. You already have the expertise. It's not that much different. Go do something else. Anyone that goes into that profession, already you see that their mind is in a filthy place to begin with. And that's a problem. He can call himself religious, he can call himself Pikachu, he can call himself Spider-Man, whatever he wants to call himself. Reality is, he is in danger every second that he's alive. And he's living on borrowed time. Why? Because he's watching filth all day. All day. He becomes numb to it. It's a very, very sick profession that caters to even sicker people. So, unfortunately, to my knowledge, there's no permission whatsoever to do such a thing. But of course, his local rabbi and his local keilah is going to call him a tzaddik, because why? Usually when you're in that profession, your income is 7 figures. So you're making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year. Usually you like to donate because you want credit from people. So he donates $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year, $1 million a year. Guess what the rabbi is going to say? What a tzaddik this guy is. This guy is the gvir of the keilah. This guy, the whole keilah wouldn't stand without him. Which is kfirah, by the way. But he's going to think he's a tzaddik. Why? Because people love his money. They don't care about his olam haba. And they end up going to Gehinom also. Why? Because they didn't rebuke him to get out of that filthy profession. Next question. Good question, by the way. Yeah, there's a question in the front. Unless there's someone in the back again, pass it to the front. You have more?
I know some kids who think that putting on tefillin is like a burden, and I usually try to tell them it's hurting God to stop, but usually they don't listen because they're too tired, usually in the morning, stuff like that,
Right.
and they think that also praying is like a burden.
Right.
So I just want to know what should I tell them in order for them to put on their tefillin?
So in the beginning, when a young boy, or even a older boy, or older man, or older woman first starts doing mitzvot, it is very, very important for them to learn as much as possible about the reasons behind this mitzvah. Even though the only reason why we do everything is because Hashem said so, the sages have given us many, many different ta'amim, meaning different tastes and hints of why Hashem instilled this mitzvah in addition to His will. So for example, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, some say he created the world only for Avraham Avinu. That's how righteous Avraham Avinu was. Now Avraham Avinu, which from him started Am Yisrael, he one day went to a war with a bunch of kings, millions of soldiers, him and Eliezer, 2 people. Some say it was 318 people, but nonetheless, very few against very many. And they won. How did they win? He simply used the Kadosh Baruch Hu's name. Every time he took some sand from the ground, he threw it in the air. Avraham Avinu took sand from the ground. You get it on the beach, you get it anywhere. Took sand from the ground, threw it in the air. Every one of the grains from the sand turned into a rocket. That's all he had to do. He didn't even have to move. He simply took it, threw it, every grain of sand, trillions and trillions of sands, rocket, and every one of them hits. There's no one misses. 5 minutes, he wins the battle. So now, after he wins the battle, the king of Sodom comes out of his hiding spot, because he was one of the captured people, and he tells Avraham Avinu, here, take all this money, take this, take that. Avraham Avinu says to him, I would not even take a shoelace from you. So you should never ever think in your mind and say that you are the one that made Avraham Avinu rich. Because anything that I have is only from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I don't even want that warped thought in your head. I wouldn't even take a shoelace from you. Chazal says in the Gemara, when Hashem heard his son Avraham say that he's not even willing to take what he's entitled to technically. He's entitled to getting the share of the reward. He won a war and everything. He says he wouldn't even take a shoelace from an unkosher person. Hashem says, I'm going to give your descendants a mitzvah that's going to be an endless reward every single time they do it. What's the mitzvah? Mitzvah of tefillin. Just like a shoelace is something like a string, the tefillin goes around your arm. And every single time you put on tefillin, you are in essence commemorating that conversation between Avraham Avinu, the king of Sodom, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, listening and laughing and enjoying, making a promise for eternity. When a kid or an adult hears that his mitzvah tefillin connects him to Avraham Avinu, already it becomes slightly more important, maybe a lot more important. Depends how much he connects to this mitzvah. Second thing is, Chazal says that when you wake up in the morning, you put on your shoes. You should put on your right foot first, then your left foot, but tie your left. Why your left? Because we see from mitzvah tefillin, most people are right-handed. Most people are right-handed, so you use your right hand to put on the tefillin on the left hand. It says, because we always have to give honor to the right, you tie your left. Tie your left first, just like you tie your tefillin on your left hand, and you tie your right later. Because you're giving it the most, the last one gets the most glory, the most attention, and so on. So even the way we tie our shoes as Jews has the connection to what? Mitzvah of tefillin, Avraham Avinu. And so on and so forth. It continues even more. The third thing is, not so pleasant. Not so pleasant. What's not so pleasant? These not so pleasant usually work better than the first two I told you. Torah says, a Jew that does not put on tefillin, en lo chelek le'olam haba. What does that mean, en lo chelek le'olam haba? A Jew does not put on tefillin 6 days a week, because you're not allowed to put on tefillin on Shabbat. He doesn't put on tefillin. He does not have a share of the world to come. What does it mean, not having a share of the world to come? He goes inside Gehenom and he never leaves. A place where the worst disasters you can possibly imagine are not even a down payment for what happens to a person there every second. Someone asked the Gaon Mivilna, someone asked, this is written in one of the Chafetz Chaim's books, someone asked the Gaon Mivilna, this Sefer, Reshit Chochmah, that was written 400 years ago by Mekubal, he gives details of what happens to Gehenom, all types of malachim, this, that, destroying people, all that stuff. Kvod Harav, what do you think of this Sefer? The Gaon Mivilna said, what? He said exactly what happens there. Kepshuto. He says simply what he wrote is exactly what happens there. No exaggeration. You want to know what happens there? Watch my shiur called Gehenom. After that, if you didn't have Yirat Shamayim, you're going to be more scared than I am even. Why? Because it's going to be the first time you ever heard such things. Rabotai, a person that simply takes one of the covenants that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made with Am Yisrael. There's 3 covenants. There's Shabbat, there's the Brit, which is not only Brit Milah, but watching a Brit, and there's the Brit of the Tefillin. Takes one of the covenants and simply forsakes it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you are cutting yourself away from me. So now, if you didn't want to do it because you don't care about a connection to Hashem, to Avraham Avinu, to all that stuff, okay, now you're going to do it because you don't want to go to Gehenom. Sometimes that works a lot better than the nice stuff. Why? Because that's our nature. That's our nature. We, in essence, operate much more effectively, much faster, because we're afraid, not because we want to. People go to work because they're afraid of being poor. People get married because they're afraid of being lonely. People, eat certain foods because they're scared of dying, and so on and so forth. People, cancel habits because they're scared of something will happen to them. People check the ingredients because they're scared of something's going to happen to them. People don't speed because they're scared that something's going to happen to them. That's how human nature is. So that's why, Rabotai Kareem, in every single shiur, we have to say something a little bit scary, because if all the nice stuff didn't work, that scary one, you're going to lose a few nights of sleep over it. Baruch Hashem, you're never going to do that sin again. You wake up tomorrow, the first thing in the morning, put out tefillin, Hashem, see, I have a tefillin, Hashem. I have tefillin, don't get no, right? With tefillin, put 2 tefillin, 3 tefillin, start walking around 3 tefillin everywhere else. Why? Because who wants to go to these places? So you have to tell these guys that tefillin is their connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if they don't understand, start sending them short clips of my shiurim. There's many of them. Don't send them the big shiur, 2 hours. Don't send it to them, because if they're not already watching me, they're going to be scared of 2 hours. Not scared of what it says. They just don't want to, spend that kind of time. They're not committed. Send them the clips, the 5 minutes, the 10 minutes, especially the movies. You send them those clips. After they watch 1 or 2, they'll become as big a fan as you. Sometimes they're, unfortunately, they have a lot of yetzara and they don't want to watch. But you keep sending. Send once a day, every couple of days. Make a WhatsApp group. Do all types of things that you can to show these people this stuff. If you take some CDs with you, give it to them. Do whatever you can to save these people. And remember that even if they're annoyed with you at first, eventually they're going to thank you. They're going to thank you because they don't realize what they're missing out. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, Alav Shalom, they once asked him, Kvod Rav, what if my friend doesn't want to hear about the Torah? What do I do with him? Do I still tell him about the Torah? Do I still tell him to do tshuva? So the Lubavitcher Rebbe says to him, he says, imagine this. You have a roommate, and your roommate comes home one day, and he tells you, listen, no matter what, don't wake me up. I'm going to sleep right now. I'm tired. Don't wake me up. And he gives you such a nasty attitude that you get so upset you leave the house. You walk down the stairs. By the time you get downstairs, you start smelling smoke. You turn around, you realize the building is on fire. The building's on fire and your friend's sleeping. You run back upstairs, you bust the door down, you're about to wake up your friend, but you think, wait a minute, he's sleeping. He told me not to wake him up. Do you wake him up or no? Of course you wake him up. Yeah, but he said don't wake him up. Yeah, he said don't wake him up because he didn't realize he's on fire. Your friend that does not keep Torah and mitzvot, he doesn't realize he's about to go on fire. Once he wakes up, in the beginning he's going to be shocked, but once he wakes up and he realizes what you saved him for, what you saved him from, surely he's going to thank you. Surely he's going to thank you. So that's the key. With family members, with friends, with colleagues, with neighbors, with strangers, you have to do the best that you possibly can to help them learn the truth, because unfortunately they don't realize that they're about to go on fire. They don't realize that they're in danger. There's a lot of people that call themselves religious Jews that do not even believe in the 13 Ikarim. They consider themselves religious Jews, but they don't believe in the 13 principles of faith, which means that according to Halacha, you cannot even count them on for minyan. They don't believe in schar ve'onesh, in reward and punishment. They don't believe that you're not allowed to have a middleman, all types of things. They don't believe in hashgacha pratit, all types of things that are the ikarim, the foundation of Judaism. So a lot of people consider themselves religious, and unfortunately they're not. Some people are not religious, but they don't realize how beautiful the religion is, because what they saw thus far is only the ugly parts. They saw a few people that dress like they're religious, but really they're not religious. They take your tuition fee every month, $1,000, $2,000, but your kids get sick for 9 months, they don't even call you. That's a bad impression of the Jewish people. That's a bad impression of the Jewish people. But never ever think that every Jew is the representation of Judaism. The Jews are not necessarily always the best representation of Judaism. The only perfect representation of Judaism is the Torah itself. You see what it says inside the Torah, that's what Judaism is supposed to be. So if somebody acts according to this Torah, he's a good representation of it. She's a good representation of it. If someone violates the Torah, don't think this is Judaism. It's not Judaism. It's them. It's their Yetzirah. So that's what you always have to remember. Judaism is not the bad stuff you see on the news. It's not the pedophiles. It's not the rapists. It's not the thieves. It's not the people that look religious but they're worse than criminals. No. Judaism is the Torah. Sometimes you'll find some people that are righteous and they're a good representation of the Torah. Unfortunately, sometimes you'll find the opposite. But it's the same in everything else. Sometimes you'll find a good guy to do business with. Rarely, but sometimes. And sometimes you'll find a bunch of people that are not so good to do business with. That doesn't stop you from doing business. You still do business. Why? Because you got to do business. Next question. Joshua, I have something? Oh, in the back here. Give it to the back. Go ahead. Give her the mic so the camera can hear you. I can hear you, but the people at home want to hear you.
Somebody once told me that if you, let's say somebody comes to your house and you give him food and he's not religious, so he doesn't make a beracha, it's your punishment. So, but I bought a gift certificate to somebody, to a store that sells kosher and non-kosher food. It's a coffee shop, but they also sell not kosher food, and they bought something not kosher, and somebody said it's my problem.
Unfortunately, they're right.
Ooh.
You have to be very, very careful from the mitzvah of not to put a stumbling block in front of another person. Now, if this is a general supermarket and you bought them a gift card, for example, and the supermarket carries kosher food and non-kosher food, then this is a lot more lenient. Why? Because in essence, you're giving them to go buy food for Shabbat. And it's a big supermarket in America, in Europe, it's going to have many, many choices. In Israel, it's going to have much more limited because pretty much all the food is kosher. But if it's a coffee shop, that means that the selection is much more limited. If, let's say, for example, you're going to go to Starbucks. Starbucks, the only thing that you're allowed to get from them is the packaged stuff, the packaged drinks, because those are the only things that are kosher. You're not allowed to buy coffee from Starbucks. You're not allowed to buy the cakes from Starbucks. You're not allowed to buy anything that does not have a kosher symbol on it. So that means that if you buy your friend a gift certificate for Starbucks, they care less about what you want and what you. They want what's going to fit their belly. So they're going to go get some coffee. They may even get a bacon sandwich because they also have bacon over there, right next to the milk. They have bacon over there. And they're going to do whatever they want. And in essence, you are the one that is partly responsible for it. Because if it wasn't for you, they may not have gone to Starbucks at all. They may not have gone to Starbucks at all. And since the choices are much more limited there, it's problematic. Now, is it the same problem as if you fed them the actual non-kosher food? No, it's not. But it's a sign from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that you have to be a lot more careful with giving people money or giving them gift cards for specific things. It's better to give them general gift certificate for anything that they want than to give them specifically for something like this, because if it's for anything they want, it's not on you anymore. It's like you gave them cash. You didn't tell them to go buy a car so they could drive to the river and drown themselves in the river. You didn't tell them that. You gave them money to go do something good with it. They decide to do something bad. It's not your problem. But if you gave them, in essence, a enticement to go to a place where the majority of what they sell is not kosher, unfortunately, if it's not a sin mamash, it's at least the dust of a sin. Meaning, you still have something on there. It's like, what is it like? It's like, imagine you have a really, really nice piece of clothing, a dress or suit or something, and something happened and like some paint or something, dye went on it, and you took it to the dry cleaner, and the dry cleaner says, listen, I'll do my best. I'll do my best to fix it. And he does his best. He works on it for a week. You come back, you see it, and yeah, the main stuff is out, but you could still see the image of what that was something there if you look closely enough. The lichluch, there's something still there, there's still something there. Or perhaps maybe somebody worked in the filth, worked in sanitation. After he finished sanitation, he finished the whole day. He doesn't have garbage all over him. He has regular clothes on. But he walks home, his wife says, get out of the house! Get out of the house, I just cleaned it, you filthy, why? Because even though he himself doesn't have the garbage on him, he still smells like garbage until he cleans himself. The point being, Rabotai, sometimes you're going to see certain people that you already know what they do for a living because they have oil on their hands and things like that. So when you do things like this, you're trying to do a mitzvah, try to do a mitzvah clean, where you're not going to get in trouble for this mitzvah. You want to give somebody money? Give them money. Give them a gift certificate they can use anywhere else, or give them cash, or better yet, just buy them the food. Buy them the chalot. They need chalot. They need milk. They need whatever they want. You could ask them, listen, I'm buying some stuff from the store. What do you want? I'm getting something. It's on me. You could do something like that. That way, you're limiting yourself from having, if not the sin itself, even the dust of sin. Because after all, what did you try to do? Try to do a mitzvah. Try to do chesed. So you want to show up to Shamayim where Kadosh Baruch Hu says, look at my dear daughter, how much chesed she did. She gave money out of her pocket that she works really hard for to do good things. But then he's going to show you a movie. He's like, yeah, you tried to do something good, but this guy bought a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich with it. Because that was one of the two choices available in that store. So you didn't tell him to do it, but still, he probably wouldn't have gone to the store. So until now, it's shogeg, it's accidental, if it's a sin at all. So that's the good news. The better news is, right now you have a learning lesson, musar that you learned. Simply, next time I want to give somebody, I'm going to make it cleaner. Where? I'm going to give, here's a gift certificate. Good luck to you. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to do a mitzvah. Kol tuv. That's it. It's easy. Easier to do. Easier than anything else. We buy food for people during the Chagim. Baruch Hashem, in Eretz Yisrael, when we give food for poor people in the religious communities, poor over there actually means poor. Poor in America means you make $30,000, $40,000. So over there, when they're poor, they sometimes they don't have food to eat. 6, 7, 8 kids, no food to eat. So we don't have the budget to give them food every week, but during the holidays, we try to take whatever money we have, and we donate to a few families. This past holiday, we fed, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood, maybe almost 1,000 people. It was a few hundred families, almost 1,000 people. Baruch Hashem. Now, the amazing thing is, when you give it to righteous families, it's very different than giving it to the general public. Why? You donate your money to some homeless guy or to some charity. What do you get? The best thing you're ever going to get is the charity saying, thank you for donating $5,000. Please donate again next year. That's what you're going to get. Keep this for your tax records. The homeless guy, maybe he's going to say thank you, maybe not. One time a homeless person told me, no, I already ate today. I don't need. I gave her a pizza. She says, no, I already ate pizza today. You have something else? She thought I was a waiter. This was in New York, in the city. Rich homeless people. Anyway, that's what you get from secular people, from goyim and so on. But when you give it to righteous families that shomer Torah and mitzvot, if I show you the letters they sent to me, it's embarrassing to me. It's mamash embarrassing to me how big of a deal they think of me. Just because I bought a few $100s worth of food. They write you a letter like you feel like, what did I do for you after all? What's the big deal? What, I bought you some chicken. What did I do? They write you a letter and letter after letter after letter. Till this day, we're still. Yesterday, we got 3-4 letters. Every day, we get more letters from people that got, I remember you gave it to me during the holiday. A whole holiday was made. Baruch Hashem. They start giving you all types of blessings. You, your kids. There's a few families. They decide. I never said anything. I said, hey, please don't even tell them I give it. Just take the money, go buy them something. Say nothing about me. But people say my name. And anyway, what ends up happening is that the people send a letter, and they give you a blessing, and then they tell you, the guy says, this family you gave them food a year ago, a year and a half ago. They're praying for you every single day. You, your wife, your kids, every single day. They're praying for you. Why? I gave them $100, $200, $300 worth of food. They decided it's such a big chesed for them. Because it's unexpected. I don't know them, but they know how to value something. People that learn Torah, they know how to value something. And mamash, these people are special. It makes you feel good. So if you're already going to give it to people like that. There's plenty of people to give it to the general public. Plenty. Very few people give it to the people that are shomer Torah and mitzvot. Especially in Eretz Yisrael. So I would say if you're already going to give it to those people. But again, needless to say, it's regardless of who you choose to give, make sure that you remove any of these obstacles from your way by giving it simply, this is it, finished. You're not giving them an option of buying pig. Because unfortunately people today, they like pig. They like pig. Next question. Same price. You have a question here in the front, in the back? You're debating whether you have a question or not? No, ask the question. No, even if you don't want to know the answer, somebody else wants to know the answer. If Hashem put it in your head, that means somebody wants to know the answer. Chabad.
what really happens when Bezat Hashem Mashiach come? What really happens during Mashiach?
What happens when the Mashiach comes? Okay. You guys really want to sleep tonight, huh? I'm going to give you a short version of it. The prophets say in a few places that either 3 days before Mashiach comes or the day the Mashiach comes, Eliyahu Navi is going to arrive and announce the Mashiach is here, and the entire world is going to know this is Mashiach, meaning it's not going to be a debate. That's also one of the proofs that we know that he hasn't come already. Not in a version of J.C. Penney, not in a version of some rabbi, not in a version of some people that send me emails and tell me they're Mashiach, even though they're not even Jewish, and sometimes not even males. I have some woman that sends me emails, tells me she's the Mashiach. All types of crazy people. The way we are going to know the Mashiach is that the entire world, not just the Jewish people, everyone is going to know this is Mashiach. Without a doubt. There's not going to be any doubts anymore. Why? Because he's going to have a power that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to instill in him, where he's literally going to be able to change nature. Now, this may happen 3 days after Eliyahu Navi. This may happen the same day Eliyahu Navi comes. But nonetheless, he will come. Before Mashiach comes, there's going to be a war called Gog uMagog. This war is going to be an enormous war, bigger than any other war that's ever been on earth, that's going to make the Holocaust, Hashem Yerachem, look like child's play. At some point, the Ishmael, the Arabs, and the Edom, the Christians, are going to go into a war. It's going to be a world war. They're going to fight each other. A lot of people are going to die. But then they're going to decide that really the whole thing is the Jewish people's fault. So both of them are going to stop fighting each other, and they're going to attack the Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael. Some say that after this, the Jewish army, the missiles, the technology, everything that they have is not even going to last a few minutes. And unfortunately, unless Hashem has some special miracles and mercy planned for us, the land is going to be taken over for 9 months. Rahman al-Itzlan. 9 months we're going to be under the control of pretty much the worst thing that's ever hit Am Yisrael. Hopefully it's less. Hopefully it doesn't even happen. But nonetheless, that's what the prophets say. Now, during this nightmare, people are going to be put to the test. The biggest test they've ever seen. Whatever they've experienced or they even heard about is going to be insignificant. And the reason why is because during this time, 2/3 of the world is going to die instantly. Some Chachamim say it's going to be done within a matter of 8 minutes. When it was written thousands of years ago, it sounded like a joke. Today, everyone knows that's not a joke because we have atomic bombs, we have biological weapons and so on, and it's very, very possible and actually easy for all of that to happen in even less time. One country presses the button, everybody else reciprocates. If Donald Trump presses the button because he got mad, or if the guy from India presses the button, or the guy from Russia presses the button, the guy from China presses the button, once one person presses the button, the other countries must retaliate with the same exact button, which means it's going to be a nuclear war. Within a matter of minutes is the end of the world. 2/3 of the world, according to the prophet Zechariah, it says it in chapter 14, 2/3 of the world is going to die. The last third are going to be people that are going to be given their last chance. Their last chance to become glued to Hashem. Their last chance, it's bothering me, my nose. Their last chance to be glued to Hashem, the last chance to do tshuva, the last chance to do everything. But also their last chance to be Reshaim. Because a certain section of those people are going to be the Erev Rav. They're going to be Jewish people. Jewish people that are going to hate the Torah, even if sometimes they're rabbis. But in reality, they hate the Torah, they hate everything it stands for, they hate the Emet, and they're going to fight the Mashiach when he arrives. Thank you, Skid Mitzvot. Okay. They're going to fight the Mashiach when he arrives. During this time, Mashiach is going to arrive and he's going to fight the whole world. Not with weapons, not with tanks, not with missiles, with simply the word of Hashem. The last third of people that are going to survive are going to be tested, the prophet says, like a Kadosh Baruch Hu refines gold and silver. He's going to refine the remaining third. Meaning, whoever is alive is not going to have an easy time. So much so that the most righteous people that ever lived, like the Rabbi of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hokinos, says in the Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin, I want the Mashiach to come. I just don't want to be alive when it's happening, because of how scary it's going to be and how big the test is going to be. Now, this war is going to happen. The last third of people are going to be tested and refined. Everyone is going to choose a side. If you haven't chosen a side before that, most likely you're going to choose the bad side. If you've chosen a side that's the good one, most likely you've chosen it before it. There's not going to be that many people that are able to do tshuva during this 9 months. Not many people did tshuva inside the Holocaust. This will be worse. Now, at that moment, Mashiach arrives, everything changes. He's going to go to war with everyone. But the biggest enemy is not going to be Ishmael. It's not going to be the Arabs. It's not going to be Esav. The biggest enemy is going to be Amalek. Who's Amalek? We have a mitzvah in the Torah, limchot et Amalek, to destroy Amalek. Amalek is a certain people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created to torture Am Yisrael throughout all of the generations. And one time we went to war with them in a desert, and Yeshua ben Nun almost beat them. Almost beat them. It was the most extraordinary war, the Midrash Me'am Loeh says. It was the most extraordinary supernatural war that's ever been. Even bigger than Gog Magog. Because it was a war of superpowers. Both sides, the Jews and Amalek, were using superpowers. The Amalek had power to know when people would die. So they would simply send the soldiers to the battle that they knew wouldn't die. So you're stabbing the guy 1,000 times and he can't die. Imagine fighting somebody like that. Superpowers. Point being, Rabotai, is Yeshua ben Nun, to the power of the Torah, almost beat them, until Hashem told Moshe, go tell Yeshua ben Nun, stop. Stop the war. I want to keep them alive. Why? Because I promise you, this will be one of the promises I'm going to fulfill when Mashiach comes, which is to destroy them myself. Destroy Amalek. So we stopped before we killed all of them. We had a couple of chances throughout history to kill them. Shaul HaMelech had a chance and he failed, and so on and so forth. But we will have to fulfill the mitzvah of destroying Amalek. Who is Amalek? Most people think that Amalek is the Nazis, or the Christians, or the Russians, or the Arabs, ISIS, and so on and so forth. Well, that could be true that parts of them are 100% Amalek, but the Zohar Kadosh says that fulfilling the mitzvah of limchot et Amalek would be destroying the Erev Rav. Who is the Erev Rav? Jews. Jews that are anti-Torah, lefty, liberal, anti-Torah people, those are going to be Amalek. And to fulfill the mitzvah of destroying Amalek at the time of Mashiach would be our job to destroy them once we know that for sure that that's who they are. That will be the last mitzvah we do to win the war. But you read in your tefillah every week, Ubal Teilim, Ubal Etzion Goel Leshave Pesha BeYaakov. The Goel, the Mashiach, is going to come to save all of those that used to be criminals. What does it mean to save all of those that used to be criminals? All of the people that didn't always keep Torah and mitzvot like they're supposed to. They were born religious, but they weren't religious enough. They were born not religious, but they became religious later on, and so on and so forth. The Mashiach will save only the Baalei Tshuva. Only the people that did Tshuva. The people that used to be criminals. Whether you were born religious or not is irrelevant. If you're doing Tshuva every day, He will save you. If you're still violating Shabbat, if you're still wasting seed, if you're still immodest, if you're still not eating kosher, if you're still not even learning Torah, you have nothing to look forward to. In fact, you should pray Tehillim every day for Mashiach not to come. Everyone that says, oh, may Mashiach come today, come today, come today, they have no idea what they're talking about. All of the sages, they were the most powerful, most beautiful people on earth, full of Kedusha, were scared, petrified of living at the days of Mashiach. But our generation that doesn't even know Aleph Bet yet, everybody says, oh, Mashiach now, Mashiach now. That simply means you have no idea what it means. Once Mashiach comes, the clock stops. No more time to do tshuva. No more time for conversion. No more time to nothing. You're finished. Whatever you are, you are. This means, Rabotai, every one of us has to start doing tshuva today. We're already late. We're already late. By doing tshuva today, we're already late. Why? We should have started 20 years ago. Because that's when the end of days officially started. A little over 20 years ago. We're living on borrowed time. That's the truth. We are living on borrowed time. Mashiach can arrive tomorrow. He can arrive next week. He can arrive in 20 years from now. Every day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us is mamash a miracle. It gives us an opportunity to do tshuva. If you've done enough tshuva, you're going to celebrate with all of the righteous people at the time of Mashiach. Nothing will happen to you. Regardless of where you are in the world. You're in America, you're in Peru, you're in Israel, you're in Panama, wherever you are, if you're a kosher Jew, you have nothing to worry about. If you're not a kosher Jew, all you have is worry. Why? Because you have no chance. Shem Yerachem. Why? Because that's what David HaMelech told us. Who is my great-grandson going to save? Who's the Mashiach, the grandson of David HaMelech, going to save? He's going to save the Baalei Tshuva. He's going to save the people that fix themselves, because they used to be criminals in something. Sometimes it's a lot of crime. They didn't keep anything. Sometimes it's a few crimes. Sometimes a few bad midot. But the point is, Rabotai, is tshuva is the message that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to every one of the prophets. Meaning, that's the purpose of your life, to do tshuva. Regardless of how you were born, regardless of what gender you are, how old you are, you have to do tshuva. Every day you can fix something. So when Mashiach comes, that's when the clock stops, and may Hashem have mercy on us when He does. Next question. Bring it to the... You have something in the back?
Is it better to wear, to cover your hair with a wig, or to wear with a baseball cap with your hair sticking out in the back?
To wear a wig or to wear a baseball cap?
With your hair sticking out in the back. Which is more preferable?
Wait, so wearing a wig or wearing a hat,
covering your hair with
the
a wig?
Hair is sticking out?
Right.
Why can't they just cover the hair?
No, they want to know which is the better way. Right?
Well, listen. There's two mitzvot. One mitzvah is modesty, and one mitzvah is covering your hair. Now, covering your hair comes from the Torah, Parashat Naso. We learned from the Sotah that every Jewish woman that's married, and according to the Rambam, every Jewish woman, period, even at the age of 6 years old, must cover her hair. Now, halacha is, we don't go by the Rambam on this one, only if she's married. But some Yemenites and some other Jews that are close to the Masoret of go by the Rambam, they cover their kids' hair. I have someone that I know, he has kids. He's not Yemenite. But his kids, he literally has 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old girls, they all cover their hair. He lives in America. This is not common. Halacha is, if you're married, you have to cover your hair. So covering your hair is one mitzvah. Second mitzvah is modesty. Now, throughout the last 2,000 years, the sages have been against wigs completely, even though 100 years ago, 150 years ago, it was very, very noticeable if a woman wore a wig. It was very easy to know if she wore a wig, because the wigs of those days, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, they looked more like the hair of a broom that we have today. So it was obvious to tell that it was a wig. But still, they were against it. How much against it? The Khatam Sofer, one of the Gdolei Olam, one of the Malachei Hashem that lived among people, among us, one of the greatest poskim in history. He was against the wigs. There was a woman in his community that decided that she's going to wear a broomstick on her head, a wig. We're not talking about the wigs of today that look better than regular hair. We're talking about putting a lifa on your head. He sent somebody to her house. The Khatam Sofer says, take off the wig, put a mitpachat. Put a mitpachat. This woman was akshanit. She was stubborn Jew. She didn't want to do it. A few weeks later, she died. It's not finished, not the story. They took the body. They were carrying the body, the whole community. In those days, someone died. It was a big deal. The whole community is having the funeral. They're taking the body through the community, and they passed by the Khatam Sofer's house. Khatam Sofer was waiting outside. He told him to stop. Uncover the face of the woman. Uncover the face. He spit on her. He says, that's what you get for going against Chazal, and that's what you get going against the Torah. Khatam Sofer that was afraid to hurt a fly. You went against the Chachamim? Khatam Sofer. We're not talking about a Yaron Reuven. Khatam Sofer. No one disagrees with the Khatam Sofer. Ashkenazi, Sfaradi, Latai, whatever you are. Takes the one, he spits in her face. Why? That's what you get for going against the sages. Over 126 poskim throughout all of history have been against the wigs completely, even when they look like broomsticks. The Gaon Mivilna, the Yavitz, giants. We're not even talking about just this generation, Sfaradi, Ashkenazi. Giants were against the wigs when they looked like brooms, when they looked like something that was embarrassing. But still, nonetheless, there was a debate, because there was one Chacham 400 years ago that confused the public, and unfortunately, since then, the issue of wigs has become more and more of a problem over the years. But still, the handful of poskim that said that wigs are allowed never said that the wigs of today are allowed. All of them said that if it's allowed, it's the wigs of 100 years ago are allowed. The ones that look like brooms. Not the ones that look better than your hair. So there's not a single posek in the world today that will tell you that the wigs of today are allowed. But yet you see millions of women, sometimes even if they're not religious, wearing wigs. So that's an issue with wigs. But there's a bigger issue. Why do I have a problem with them? Because they're not modest. So the mitzvah of modesty, if you're wearing a wig, it's very hard to fulfill that mitzvah of modesty. You cover your head, but it's very hard to fulfill your modesty requirement when that wig is longer than the exile. When you look like you just came off of a runway. When your hair always looks good even though you just came out of bed. It doesn't make any sense that people think this is allowed. But still, they're going to say the Lubavitcher Rebbe, they're going to mention all types of Gedolim's name and misinterpret some stuff they say. But that's not enough. There is another issue that came to our attention over the last 4 or 5 years that we brought to light again because it was ignored 14 years ago when Rav Elyashiv brought it to everyone's attention, which is that since wigs have become a multi-billion-dollar industry, that means that all of the criminals that care less about Torah are going to want to put their hands into this business. We're talking about big business. We're talking about a woman that even if she doesn't own a house, she'll spend $3,000 on a wig, $4,000 on a wig. Women tell me, oh, okay, I'm going to put mitpachat on. What should I do with my wigs? I said, burn them. She goes, what do you mean burn them? It's $15,000. Got 3-4 wigs, got $15,000 worth of wigs. I said, how many houses do you own? She goes, I don't even own a house, I rent. How do you allow yourself to spend $15,000 on wigs? Because what do you mean? I wear it every day. People have no sense of like, there's like simply no Yetzirah Tov when it comes to wigs. Just Yetzirah. So now, the problem is, why do people burn it? You see some of my videos on my channel with women, tzadikot, burning their wigs. Why? Because we discovered that since it's become such a big business, the only place in the world that could supply the market, the multi-billion-dollar market, with an unlimited supply of wigs is India. That's the only place. Even though there is some hair that comes from different countries randomly, it's not even 1% of the market. 99% of the hair that's actually in wigs today, real hair wigs today, comes from India. Why India? Because India has over 80,000 cults and religions, and one of the common things that they have over there is they have temples, where the people travel to those temples from all over the country and all over the world, actually. Almost 30 million people. 30 million people travel to these temples every single year from all around the world to donate their hair to the idols. Because that's their mitzvah. That's their idolatry. That's their sacrifice to the idol. They donate their hair because their idol spent a lot of money on a wedding, and he took a loan from the gods. And the only way you can return it is if you donate your hair to him and he can sell it. This is actually what they believe. I know it's funny, but this is actually what they believe. Or another one has a different idol that he had a rock fall on his head and gave him a bald spot. So since then, people donate their hair to this fake god. That's their religion. Every woman that wears a wig from real hair, there's a 99.9% chance that your hair was a sacrifice to an idol. Which means the Torah says you're not allowed to sell it, you're not allowed to wear it, you're not even allowed to enjoy it in any way. The only mitzvah you have with something that came from idolatry is to destroy it. Which means that there are many Bnot Israel that overall righteous. Keep Shabbat, Tarat Mishpacha, modesty, good women, everything. Even the wig is short. But the wig is real hair. She has idol worship on her head. And she doesn't understand why she has so many tzarot in her life, the kids, the husband, and this and that. She doesn't realize she's bringing it on herself. Now, unfortunately, you're going to have the vast majority of rabbis say exactly the opposite of what I just said. What's the difference? I did the research, they didn't. We have a paper of over 200 pages verifying every single thing I said. We have people that live in India right now. Hindus. Not about Jews, Hindus. Hindus that live over there in India tell you everything that I just said is an understatement. I'm complimenting it, what I'm saying. It's much worse. It's much worse than what I say. I have videos of this. I have testimony of this. All types of things. But sometimes, unfortunately, the Yetzer Hara is very strong. Which means, back to your question, should a woman cover her hair with a wig? Or should she cover it with a hat that shows her hair? Well, if you cover it with a hat, you're not fulfilling any mitzvah pretty much. Why? Because you're not really fulfilling the mitzvah of covering your hair, because part of your hair, too much of your hair, more than 3 fingerfuls of your hair are shown, so it's in essence, you're not fulfilling the mitzvah right. It's like a half a mitzvah. So there's no such thing as a half a mitzvah. It's either you do it or you don't do it. And and obviously it's not modest. It's not modest. So you're not fulfilling anything. It's almost like you're walking around with nothing. On the other hand, if you put a wig on, if it's not a short wig, so that means it's not a modest wig anyway, so you're not fulfilling the mitzvah of modesty, you are covering your head though. You are fulfilling a mitzvah. But what's the price of this mitzvah? Benefiting from idol worship. Benefiting from idol worship. If it's real hair wig. So if anyone wants a leniency because they're like addicted to wigs, I will never tell you it's allowed. But if there was a choice between a wig from real hair and a synthetic wig, the synthetic wig is of lesser evil. Because we did some scientific studies, and about 2 to 3% of the synthetic wigs have real hair in them, because real hair is so cheap that you could actually fill the synthetic wigs with real hair, which means that it also has idolatry in it. But nonetheless, sometimes it doesn't. You could have a safek of some kind. Point being, it would still not be allowed, but nonetheless, it's much less worse, if you will, than the real hair wigs. The real hair wigs, it's virtually impossible to get a real hair wig that is kosher, even if it has a kosher stamp on it. By the way, what's one of the best signs that any smart Jew could know for sure that the entire kosher industry of wigs is one big fraud? One sign for sure that all of you are smart. All of you right now, without looking into the kosher industry, all of you are going to know right now with 100% conclusion there's something going on with the kosher industry of wigs. Now, ever went to the supermarket? Raise your hand if you went to the supermarket before. Went to the supermarket. You bought some kosher food? Raise your hand if you bought kosher food. Now, once in a while, you saw a U? Saw a U? Yeah. You see a K? You see a star K? You see a UD? You see all types of symbols. What does that mean? There are different kosher bodies. There are literally hundreds of kosher bodies for food. Hundreds. Why? It's big business. A lot of money in it. Wigs is also big business. Lots of money in it. How many kosher institutions supervise the entire wig industry? Multi-billion-dollar industry. We're talking about millions of wigs. How many kosher bodies supervise the entire kosher industry? One. One company. One company. One company run by a guy named Rabbi Gross is the supervisor of the entire wig industry. There is nobody else. Now, if that's not fishy to you, if that makes sense to you, that there's one kosher company that's not even the size of your local deli, they could supervise the entire industry, that sounds normal to you. That sounds kosher to you. There's something not kosher about you. You're missing a few brain cells. This alone shows there's something unkosher about the kosher industry in the wig industry. Why? Why doesn't anybody else want to jump in? So much money in it. You could go in there right now. Right now there's a monopoly. You go in, you have no competition. What, you have one guy. You have half the industry within a year. Who is he going to compete with? Half the industry within a year. You make millions of dollars. You're printing money. How come nobody goes into it? Because anyone with 1 ounce of Yirat Shamayim runs away from that industry like it's the plague. Like it's the Malach HaMavet himself. Why? Because there's no way to kosher a wig. No way. Why? Because you know it came from India. You know you cannot follow the hair from the time it was taken off the head until the time it's put on the head. That means that even if you saw that one of the people didn't donate it to the idol, she sold it in Russia, she sold it in Bangladesh, she sold it in Gehenom, she sold it somewhere else, no problem. That hair is not going to be a wig though. That woman's hair is not going to be a wig. It's going to be part of a wig. Average wig is 3 heads. Average wig is 3 different women's heads. Why? Because imagine, the hair of a wig is not like the hair of a regular person. Everything is even. Everything is perfect. No woman in the world has even hair. You have split ends. You have hair like this, hair like this, hair like this, all types of things. The wig, everything's perfect. All the time. Why? Because they make it that way. Manufacture it that way. They put all the hair in one giant place and they mix it all up. You get it in blonde, you get it in blue, red, green, burgundy. You can have anything you want. So this, Rabotai, is the truth about wigs. So that means that even if you're fulfilling the mitzvah of covering your head, if you will, better than what you did with the hat, with the hair coming out, the cost of it is benefiting out of idolatry, which is much, much worse. Much worse. So that means that you have to overcome the obstacle, the Yetzirah, put a snoot on, put a mitpachat on, put a hat on, but just put all your hair in it. And be proud to be a Jew, for heaven's sake. Why? Do you want the Mashiach to show up and you have your hat on with your hair coming out? Oh, no, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean Mashiach. Let me put my hair back. What do you think, it's going to help you? Mashiach shows up, she's going to put her hair back in there. All the women that are not covering their hair, they're going to come into the house, all of a sudden they're coming out with mitpachat. You think that's going to save you? It's too late. It's too late at that point. If you didn't do tshuva before Mashiach comes, nothing's going to help you. If you're not covering your hair right now, you're not modest right now, start. ASAP. ASAP. Don't waste a minute. Whether you want to, you don't want to, doesn't make a difference. Do it. Why? It's for you. Only one that benefits out of it is you. Don't make a Kadosh Baruch Hu wait for you to do tshuva for 3,000 years. 3,000 years is waiting for you to do tshuva, and he cannot save you. Why? Because you don't want to put a mitpachat on. Because you don't want to keep your brit in your pants. Because you don't want to watch your eyes. Because you don't want to, keep Shabbat. He's waiting for you for 3,000 years, for heaven's sake. Have some mercy on him. 3,000 years reincarnating you, giving you another chance, giving you another chance. More panasa, more miracles, more refuah shlema, more kids, more wife, more good times. He's waiting for you for finally you're going to do tshuva. Don't make him wait for 3,000 years and you still didn't do tshuva. You still want to eat the burger. Don't make him wait for nothing. He's waiting for you. Do it already. Do yourself a service. What joy are you going to get out of it? Not covering your hair, or not watching your bleed, or not watching how you do business and so on. What are you going to get out of it at the end? You're going to be miserable anyway. Without Hashem, you cannot be happy. It's impossible to be happy without a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Next question. Yes, Chavud. Give him the thing.
What's the purpose of having so many labels and branches in Judaism today, like conservative, reform, modern Orthodox, constructionist, humanistic? Just feel that they are harming our unity and our credibility, actually. So is there any way we can stop the hemorrhage?
So it's a good question, that there's a lack of unity within Judaism. The truth is, the Torah does not have different branches of Judaism. At Mount Sinai, we were all Sephardic. Why? We're all in the desert. Ashkenazis won't survive the desert. There's no gefilte fish in the desert. No, but the point is, Rabotai Be'emet, at Mount Sinai, everyone was the same. Everyone was the same. Now, there were different traditions and cultures as we spread among the four corners of the world. There's Ashkenazi Jewry, there's Yemenite, there's Moroccan, there's Litvish, all types of things. But still, Judaism per se stayed the same. They were just different customs. Now, those customs are perfectly kosher. If you are Ashkenazi and your favorite fish is a gefilte fish, you like to eat it, no problem. It's perfect mitzvah for you to eat it. You like to eat chemi, the people from Tripoli and from Morocco, you want to eat something spicy on Shabbat, no problem. That's a mitzvah also. You want to, if you're Ashkenazi, you watch kitniot, you don't eat kitniot on Pesach, no problem, that's a masoret that you have. Those are customs within the same Judaism that's existed for the last 3,300 years. Now, unfortunately, what's happened over the last couple of hundred years is a movement called the Askala, the Enlightenment, which is the birth of Reform Jewry. Now, Reform Jewry, the only thing that's Jewish about it is the word Jewry. The rest of it is nothing to do with Judaism. Why? In order to be qualified as a kosher Jew, you have to fulfill the mitzvot, and you have to have a certain belief system, which requires you to believe the written Torah and the oral Torah. Reformed do not believe in either one. They don't believe. They tell you outright. They don't believe in oral or written Torah. So there's nothing Jewish about them. Similar to Messianic Judaism. Messianic Judaism is just another name of Christianity. The only thing that's Jewish about it is the name Judaism. The people that run it and are behind it and what they practice and how they believe in Yoshke, there's nothing Jewish about it. It's anti-Torah. Conservative, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, conservative Jewish was very similar to what modern Orthodox is today. Meaning, it had many of the foundational principles of Judaism. They kept Shabbat, they kept kosher, they put on tefillin, they prayed. They didn't accept women inside a minyan. They didn't accept women as rabbis. 70 years ago, they weren't very, very different from modern Orthodoxy today. In fact, they were probably more modest than modern Orthodoxy today. What happened about 70, 60 years ago? They wanted to grow their community by becoming more united with other lost Jews. How could they do it? Tell everybody that everyone is allowed to go to Beit Knesset on Shabbat, even if it means you're going to drive on Shabbat. Meaning, they took the Torah, put it in a toilet, and they invented a new Torah. They said you're allowed to drive on Shabbat. Why? Because they wanted to be united, but in their own way, not in a Torah way. They brought the Torah down to people instead of bringing people up to the Torah. Now you would think this would work, this would get them to become bigger and more successful and eventually more religious, right? Well, history says the opposite. 70 years have passed, or 65 years have passed since they've done this. Today, the head rabbi of the conservative movement in Eretz Yisrael, which is their most religious branch, is openly homosexual. The head rabbi is openly homosexual male. They accept same-sex marriage. Shabbat is not Shabbat. Everybody drives on Shabbat. Intermarriage is allowed. Everything is allowed. There's simply very little difference between conservative and reform today. Some conservative, eventually, they wake up, they become more studious, and they leave, and they join orthodoxy, but it's very few and far in between. The point being is that this is also, again, it's not a version of Judaism. It's a version of heresy that calls itself Judaism. Now what is the legitimate Judaism? Judaism is, in essence, someone that keeps Torah and mitzvot. How are you going to label them? Someone that's a Haredi, someone that's ultra-Orthodox, that's someone that is, in essence, representing that he keeps all of the laws. So what is modern Orthodox? Modern Orthodox means that they keep some of the mitzvot. Some of the things that they want to modernize to become more applicable to today, they choose not to, such as modesty. Modesty in modern Orthodox communities is virtually non-existent. You will see the actual rebbitzins, the rabbaniot of the rabbis, walk into shul sometimes less modest than some of the members. No sleeves, short skirts, all types of things that, I don't want to give you the imagination, but nonetheless, everyone understands what modesty is. You have to cover yourself as a woman, as a man, but a woman obviously must cover at least 6 inches below the bottom of our knee is the minimum, not necessarily the goal. It should be even longer. Your clothes shouldn't be tight. Your clothes should cover your elbows. You will obviously have to behave a certain way. You have to cover your hair and so on and so forth. The point being is that many, many people within the modern Orthodoxy world simply have taken the modesty and threw it in the garbage. Now, I thought this was the worst part, but there was a research that came out 2 years ago, 2017, by a modern Orthodox Jew. And he reported that after doing research on nearly 4,000 people in the modern Orthodoxy world, which is a lot, it's a big part of the group, he discovered that nearly 50% of the modern Orthodox women do not go to the mikveh. Do not go to the mikveh, meaning that almost half the kids coming from modern Orthodoxy are isurei karet, isurei nida. Meaning the parents should be killed by Hashem the moment they're together because she didn't go to the mikveh. Not going to the mikveh and being with your husband is death penalty. To such an extent, the Chachamim saying that every time you do it, you're simply a miracle that you're alive, that you didn't die on the spot. Girlfriend, boyfriends don't exist in Judaism. Either you're married, you're not married. Either you're tameh or you're ta'or. It's very black and white in certain areas. Aside from that, the same study said that nearly half of the modern Orthodoxy members in this study do not believe in Hashgacha Pratit, do not believe that God supervises everything. This qualifies them as 100% heretics. You cannot count them in minyan. You cannot count such a person in minyan who does not believe that Hashem supervises everything. That's a kofir. It's a kofir ba'ikar. That's like an idol worshiper. Half of them admit they don't believe in it. They don't believe that Hashem supervises everything. They have doubts. They have doubts, or they don't believe at all. But they still call themselves modern Orthodox. This is from a study. It's not from me. You could actually find this study on the internet for free. You can read it yourself. It's like 85, 90 pages. It gets worse than what I'm saying to you. Point is, what happened? They made the same mistake over the last 30, 40 years. Modern Orthodoxy changed drastically. It's not the same as it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. What did they do? They made the same mistake that the conservatives made 70 years ago. They started cutting a few mitzvot. A few things here, a few things there, a few here, a few there. Little by little, it's becoming a different religion. Same thing with, unfortunately, many of these people that we argue about all the time, that they want to be nice to people by telling them that everyone is going to heaven. So I asked a Rosh Yeshiva that says this. You say that everybody goes to heaven. So I asked him, what about the people that live their entire life violating the entire Torah? Do they go to heaven also? He said, yes. I said, you're kofel. We cannot count you in minyan. You touch wine, cannot drink from it. It's like an idol worshiper touched it. He's part of one of the biggest movements in Judaism today, this guy. So, point is, Rabotai Karim, people are confused at what Judaism really is. Judaism does not have a label. But unfortunately, we live at a time that you must have a label in order for us to know if you're actually Jewish or not. Because if you're anything else other than Haredi, other than you're 100% going to keep the entire Torah, you're questionable. The Gemara, Masechet Bechorot, page 30b, says, if an idol worshiper comes to you, says, I want to convert. I believed in Yoshke my whole life. I don't believe in him anymore. I want to convert. It's mitzvah for converts. He says, okay, do you accept this? 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 Yes, 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 yes. Okay, since you live in the exile, the rabbis put a law, a fence around the fence, that if you live in the exile, you have to keep 2 Yom Tovs. Rabbinical law. It's not a biblical law, it's a rabbinical law. You accept this? He says no. Gemara says we reject him. Don't accept him. Why? He rejected one of the rabbinical laws. Gemara says no. It's not just he rejects one of the rabbinical laws. Even if he rejects a chidush from one of the sages, we don't allow him to convert. Then the Gemara continues. Says, okay, what about if he already converted? And now he's becoming like modern. He says we consider him like he's an idol worshiper. He's a Jew, but he's like an idol worshiper. He's like a Mechalet Shabbat. Okay, what about if he's already Jew, born a Jew? Born a Jew. Why, we're discriminating against the converts? What if he's born a Jew, but he says, you know what? I like your shiur, I like your Torah, but I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to keep Yom Tov twice while I'm living in America or in Europe. I don't think I'm going to do that. It's not for me. It's not for me. Gemara says, if he says that, we consider him as if he's violating the entire Torah. Why? Because he's already deciding ahead of time he's not going to keep something. It's not that if he fails at something, then we think he failed at everything. No, everybody fails. Nobody else is perfect. It's that he decided to fail. He decided he's not going to keep a certain mitzvah. From that point on, until he does full tshuva, we consider as if he's not even keeping Shabbat. That's what the Gemara says. The point being, Rabotai, Haredi doesn't mean what color clothes you have. You could wear blue, you could wear white, you could wear black, you could wear burgundy. Your clothes, as far as the colors, don't make you Haredi. What makes you Haredi is you're charet for Hashem. You are zealous for Hashem. You know this mitzvot, you know it, you do it. And you learn more every day. And you do more every day. And you improve yourself every day. That is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. And if you do that, you're going to actually get other people to do it. How do we know? The only sect of Judaism that survived all of these 3,000 years is the religious people. Every sect of our people that went off the derech, the Sadducees, the Batracees, the Reform, all of the ones that existed in the past, they all died. All of them died. There's been, what do you think, Reform and Conservative are the first people that started something new? No, the ones before them died. And new ones arrived. The only ones that survived 3,000 years are the Haredim. The story of Hanukkah, who wins the war? The secular people with the missiles, or the few rabbis that kept Torah and mitzvot with no weapons? The rabbis. That's who survived. So that point is, Rabotai, is that yes, the rabbis survived, but sometimes their grandkids did not keep what the rabbi did, what the grandfather did, and they went off the derech, and they started a new cult within Judaism. But the point being, Rabotai, is that the only ones that are guaranteed eternity are the religious Jews that keep the entire Torah. Everyone else, they're living on borrowed time. They should thank the religious ones because the only reason the world exists is for them. So now, to be Haredi doesn't mean you have to wear a black and white. You don't have to look like a penguin if you don't want to. You could wear blue. You could wear green. The only requirement for your clothes is for it to be modest. You have to be modest. You have to look presentable. Why? You're representing God, the King of Kings. That means you have to look like you are the son of God, not the son of Jose, not the son of Yoshke, not the son of Mustafa. You have to look like the son of God. So that means that you have to look a certain way. Man, woman, same thing. You should be proud of it. Your father is the King of Kings. Sometimes kids show off who their fathers. Oh, my father is an engineer. My father is a doctor. My father is he's a diamond dealer. My father has 3 buildings. My father has 2 buildings. My father has no car. My father has nothing. Everyone has something to say about their father. Rabotai, your father is the King of Kings. Melech Malchei Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Act like it. Be proud of it. Represent it. A woman tells you, why are you covering your head looking like you just came from the desert? Because I am the daughter of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's the King of Kings. And he told me that if I'm married, I have to wear a crown. So until further notice, this is the crown that I have. Once Mashiach comes, I'll put some diamonds on it. The point is, Abutai, you should never ever be embarrassed for wearing a kisui rosh. You're representing the King of Kings. You should never be embarrassed of wearing a kippah. You're representing the King of Kings. You should never be embarrassed of looking religious. You're representing the King of Kings. But that's the problem with modernizing. When we modernize, what are we constantly comparing ourselves to? The Goyim. We wear the clothes of the Goyim. We act like the Goyim. Every day we compare ourselves. Do I look Goy enough? Do I look like Mustafa enough? Do I look like, JC enough? Do I look like him? That's what we're comparing ourselves to. We look at movie stars. We look at sports stars. We look at all types of celebrities that make 1.5 million sins a second. And we compare ourselves to them. Instead of comparing ourselves to the Ben Ish Chai, to the Khatam Sofer, to Rav Ovadia, Rav Eliyashi, Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Akiva, who we're comparing ourselves to? Some tameh, some impure beast that is an excuse of a human being. That's what we're comparing ourselves to. We want to make our hair like him. We want to have our clothes from him. Oh, what are you wearing, Fendi? Yeah, Kanye likes Fendi. Hashem Yirachem. What are we comparing ourselves to? Hashem Yirachem. That's what we're comparing ourselves to. Some tameh, some impure person that makes us 1.5 million sins a second. Instead of comparing ourselves to holy people, people that spoke to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, people that lived for HaKadosh Baruch Hu 24 hours a day, we're comparing ourselves to some murderer, had 500 abortions. That's what we're comparing ourselves to. Think about it. Think how stupid we are sometimes. We want to look like the movie star. Some woman that sells herself for free. Every night she has a new husband. That's what we're comparing ourselves to. Why? Because she's a celebrity. She was on TV 3 times. I want to look like her. I want to look like her because she's a celebrity. She was on a show where she was pretty much naked all the time and people love her for it. I want to look like her. I bet you're not going to want to look like her when she's in Gehenom and they melt her to 1.5 million pieces over and over again for eternity. As Rabbi Avraham Azulai says, every time you sinned, Hashem gives you the same punishment over and over again. It's not one punishment for one sin. It's not you wasted seed your whole life, you get one punishment. No, my friend. Every time you sin, you get another punishment all over again. Shem Yachem. When a person understands what Midat Adin is, they're not going to know what hit them. Rabbi Israel Misalant says, when you arrive at the Bet Din of Shemaim, you're not going to recognize God. You're not going to recognize God. Why are you not going to recognize God? Why? What does it mean you're not going to recognize God? He says because in this world, all you know is midat chesed, v'rachamim, the mercy of Hashem. When you go up to Shamayim, all there is midat din, judgment. You're righteous, you get heaven forever. Not righteous, you want to look like a movie star that's a tameh. You want to look one of these celebrities that's married and divorced 18 times that we know about? Had 18 boyfriends by the time she was 25, 30? You want to be like that? HaKadosh Baruch Hu midat adin. That's all you know. That's what Rabbi Sami Salan says. That's all there is over there. It's emet. There's no excuses. There's no let me know. I didn't mean it. I didn't know. I didn't grow religious. None of that. None of that exists in Shamayim. Rabotai. That's why I don't know why people worry so much about Mashiach. Because whether Mashiach arrives in a year, in a month, and it doesn't make a difference. Judgment Day could arrive at a person's door every day. My cousin died at 23 years old 2 years ago. My other cousin died a few months ago. He's 49. My class, my graduating class from high school, I already know over 30 kids that are not alive right now. I'm not that old. 30 kids I know that are not alive right now from my graduating class. Almost 10% of the graduating class. Do you understand? No one's guaranteeing you 120 years. No one's guaranteeing you next week even. Do tshuva today. Do tshuva today. You do tshuva today, I promise you, you're never going to regret it if it's real tshuva. Next question.
I'm not sure exactly, but is 1 year for God 1,000 years for man?
Okay.
So,
Yes or no?
Okay, so we are coming. So we're in the 6th day then.
Oh, Ken.
And the 7th day is like eternal Shabbat then.
Ken.
So we're in like so we're a few hours away from eternal Shabbat. And Mashiach is coming before Shabbat comes in.
Before Shabbat.
So there's like 220 years about.
No, Shabbat doesn't come in at midnight. The year 6000 is midnight.
Midnight.
Right, midnight. Day doesn't start at midnight. In Judaism, the day starts at night. Right now, the day starts, the new day starts right now at around 6:15 p.m. Shabbat comes in at 6 o'clock.
Right, that's what I mean.
So 6 o'clock is not the year 6000. It's much, much before that. The year 6000 is the equivalent of midnight of the new day.
Oh, midnight.
Right. So right now...
Midnight is secular though, no? With day and night.
24 hours a day. 24 hours a day is within Judaism also. We have different minute system, but it's still 24 hours.
Oh, we have a different minute system?
Yes, different minute system. We have the biblical minutes are different.
Oh.
The minute system changes for Judaism throughout the year, depending on when the night comes in. Sometimes
Still 60 minutes?
No.
No.
No, it's not 60 minutes.
So why... the first time I'm hearing about this.
Not. Go to Gemara Masechet Rosh Hashanah.
Why we don't have Jewish watches?
We do. You have applications that tell you exactly when Shabbat comes in, when the holiday comes in, and it changes.
But it's converted to secular time.
Right. You also have a Jewish calendar. Jewish calendar is different than
So there are no Jewish watches with Jewish time? 12 hours a day?
It's not necessarily Jewish time per se, as far as it's not going to say in Jewish time it's 12 o'clock, but in secular time it's 1 o'clock. No, it doesn't say a different time, but that time has a different presentation within a day, a different significance within a day. There's an entire Gemara tractate about it, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, that talks about it because our calendar system is different than the Goyim. Their calendar system is based off of 365 days. Okay, the rotation of the sun. We are based on a moon, which is 30 days, 360 days. So every 19 or so years, 19.4 years, we add a month of the year where we have a 13-month year every 4 years approximately. So our calendar is very, very different, but nonetheless, our calendar is precise. How so? You have a birthday, and your birthday you're probably using your secular birthday. So let's call it January 1st. Now, when you celebrate your birthday on January 1st, you're celebrating that you were born January 1st, 40 years ago, let's say. Right? On the same day, 40 years ago. Let's call you 40 years old. I have no idea how old you are. So let's say it was 40 years ago. You're celebrating on January 1st that you were born exactly 40 years ago on this day. That's wrong. You weren't born 40 years ago exactly on this day. Your Hebrew calendar birthday is, if you celebrate your Hebrew day, you were born 40 years ago exactly on that day. But that date, although will always be the same in the Hebrew calendar, will rotate in the secular calendar because of the change in dates every year. Point being is, it's very, very interesting. It has to do with a little bit of math, but nonetheless, it's a precise system that's, for anyone that appreciates math, would appreciate the genius of the sages, of how they figured this out in order for us to not require to go to the mountains every month and tell you when Rosh Chodesh is. We already know when Rosh Chodesh is ahead of time until Mashiach comes. We know when Rosh Chodesh is going to be until the end of the world.
Mashiach is here.
Mashiach is in every generation. There is a soul that's a potential Mashiach, meaning a soul that has the ability for Hashem to turn it on and make it Mashiach. Every generation does. Whether Hashem turns it on or not, that's his choice. But one thing I can tell you is that we are at a point where we're out of time, meaning that it says that Mashiach will come before Shabbat. Not before Shabbat the day, but before Shabbat the year. So even if we look at, let's say, each 1,000 years is one day, so that means 5,000 years we've completed 5 days. We've completed Thursday. So now we have 780. 780 already is the part of Friday. So 750 is 3/4 of 1,000. So that means that 18 hours out of 24, 3/4 of 24 hours have elapsed. That's 6 p.m. already. 6 p.m. already. But then we have an additional 30. Additional 30. Every 41 years approximately, I did the math one time, every 41 years is an hour. So that means that we are somewhere approaching almost 6:45 p.m. on Friday. In the biblical calendar, in the Hashem's calendar. Friday, 6:45 p.m. approximately. So that means, Rabotai, Shabbat does not come in at midnight. Anywhere in the world. Shabbat comes in, average, 7, 7:30. Let's say you want to call it late Shabbat in France. 8 o'clock. You don't have that much time. You don't have that much time. Point being, it's going to be in our lifetime. So we don't put an exact time frame on when Mashiach can come. He can come tomorrow, he can come next week. Whenever he comes, B'ezrat Hashem, hopefully we're ready. But nonetheless, Rabotai Kareem, it's important for us to already start getting ready now. B'ezrat Hashem, this will give us the chizuk that we need to get ready for Mashiach. This will give us the chizuk to start taking on the mitzvot more seriously. Prepare for this Shabbat already on Motzei Shabbat. Prepare for learning Torah already from the minute we wake up, before we go to sleep. Watch these shiurim regularly. Don't just watch them one time and put it away. Watch more. Watch it more than once. Watch clips. Watch entire shiurim. Get the Torah into your veins. Get the Torah into your blood system, into your mind, into your neshama on a daily basis. And that will prepare you each day a little more to the days of Mashiach, to the days of judgment. I want good for everyone. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, needless to say, wants good for everyone. But again, there's no free lunch in Judaism. Please take this advice, use it, take HaKadosh Baruch Hu seriously, and I promise you, you will have only miracles and good things happen as a result of it. Sometimes it's right away, sometimes it takes a few years, but nonetheless, you will always win in the end, especially the end that's called eternity. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen ve'amen.